Hi everyone! Today I'm attempting to wage war on those slimy garden pests, slugs. It's been quite a bad year for them this year. I'm testing out some homemade slug traps using simple ingredients you probably already have in your kitchen. Flour, yeast, water, and a few empty yogurt pots. Let's see if I can outsmart these slugs and be able to protect my plants next year. I'll be checking the traps over the next 2 nights, so stay tuned to see the results. Okay, first things first. I'm taking these empty yogurt pots and giving them a little upgrade. With my old soldering iron, I'm making some small holes around the rim of each pot. The idea here is to let those tiny baby slugs in. They're often the ones causing the most damage in your lettuces, and you can never see them until it's too late. The big ones can just climb over and in. Now, these pots are going to be half filled with a special slug-attracting slurry. We'll get to that in a sec, but first, let's make sure these little guys have easy access. There we go, all set. Now let's move on to the good stuff, the bait. Now this slurry is super easy to make. Just grab a bowl, some flour, a sachet of yeast, and enough water to make a paste-like liquid. You can add more water or yeast until you get an easy pouring consistency. It's probably easier to whisk, but like an idiot, I just stirred mine for a long time. Lesson learned. There we go. Perfect. Now let's get these pots buried in the garden and fill them up. Okay, back in the garden, I'm placing 2 of these traps outside the polytunnel in this bed, and then I'll put one inside. The reason I'm doing it near the tunnel is because there's a wooden frame here where I know slugs like to hide during the day. I'm going to bury each one, leaving a small space at the top above the soil. Then I'll fill the pots about halfway with the slurry, enough for a few slugs to drown themselves. I'm covering one of the outside pots with a bit of wood. This way we'll see if we can trap only the baby slugs in one of the pots. The bigger ones won't be able to fit under the wood. There we are, all set. Now, we wait. I'll be checking these traps tomorrow, and again, the day after to see if we've had any success. Fingers crossed. Okay, day 2. Let's see what we've got. I'll check the trap with the lid on first. There is a slug in there, but only a small one. Looks like the lid did its job, keeping the bigger slugs out. Well, one is better than none. Let's see if the other traps have caught anything. Oh no, looks like the cat's been having some fun overnight. This second trap has been disturbed. There's dirt all inside. Let's see if there's anything in there anyway. I'll tip the contents out. Jackpot! Look at that. 6 big juicy slugs. Guess they couldn't resist the bait, even with the cat's interference. That's a good sign. Let's check the final trap inside the polytunnel. It's pretty obvious this one has worked too. There are a few floating on top already. Success! Looks like we've got a good few in here as well. This homemade trap definitely seems to be doing the trick. Alright, since the cat decided to interfere with one of our traps, we'll need to mix up some more slurry. I'm also making extra because I'm going to add another trap in a different part of the garden. Hopefully, that'll help catch even more of these pesky slugs. There we go. Trap number 1 refilled and ready to go. Now, to try and prevent another feline fiasco, I'm going to cover the ground around it with some netting. This should deter the cat from digging and messing up our trap again. For this new trap, I've repurposed an old plastic bottle and buried it near these French beans and winter cabbages. They've been taking a real beating from the slugs lately. Looks like I've got an audience too. The chickens are very interested in what I'm doing. I just wish they would eat the slugs. Okay, all the traps are set. We'll check them all again tomorrow and get a final count. I'm pretty confident these cheap and easy traps are going to work well. Alright everyone, it's the final day of our slug trap experiment. Let's see what we've caught overnight. First up, the trap with the lid. Let's see if we caught any more baby slugs. Well, it looks like we haven't caught any more in this one overnight. Let's move on to the new trap we set up near the French beans and cabbages. This one's definitely a winner. It seems like the slugs in this part of the garden were really hungry. I'm so glad we tried this extra trap. Last but not least, let's head into the polytunnel and check the remaining trap. This one looked pretty full yesterday, but let's see if we caught any more overnight. Quite possibly. Alright, it's time for the grand finale. I've gathered all the traps and we're going to empty them into a tray so I can hose them off and get a final count. Let's see what our total haul is. Okay, here we go. I'm emptying all 4 traps into this tray. This way any of the gunk and leftover bait can fall through, leaving us with just the slugs. We've lost a few tiny ones through the gaps, so our final count might be off by 1 or 2. But we'll get a good idea of how effective these traps have been. Let's get these guys cleaned up and see what we've got, hosing off the remaining slurry. And there we go, a nice pile of juicy slugs. Looks like we've got about 20 decent sized ones. And those smaller slugs we lost through the gaps earlier, I'm guessing we've managed to collect around 26 in total. Well, there we are. 26 slugs caught in just a couple of nights, using nothing but some old containers, some flour, yeast and water. I'm definitely going to be using these traps in bulk next growing season. They're cheap, easy to make, and clearly very effective. Of course, I'll also be exploring other natural and non-destructive methods of slug and snail control to protect my crops. So if you have any tips or tricks, please share them in the comments below. Thanks for watching everyone. If you enjoyed this video and found it useful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more gardening tips and experiments. Until next time, happy gardening.